Hey there, I'm Krista Vance, entrepreneur and operations leader.
And I'm Matt Vance, award-winning author and social innovation researcher. We're your hosts of the Culture Profit Podcast.
Your place for purposeful company culture strategy.
Learn from HR pros, executives, and thought leaders how to prioritize profits by prioritizing people.
This episode is sponsored by Mobrium, the best friend of forward-thinking HR leaders, helping you strengthen your employer reputation as a reflection of your real culture.
Learn more at mobrium.com.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us on the Culture Profit Podcast. Today, we're joined by a very special guest all the way from Virginia. Ernest Davis, creator of the CHORD Framework, will be sharing with us how to navigate change in our organizations without losing harmony. And this is a very important topic for HR and people leaders, so we're excited to have him here. Ernest, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Matt. It's a pleasure to be on and an honor to be on the Culture Profit. So to Matt and Krista, thank you guys so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to you guys about the CHORD Framework, what it is, and why I created it and how it can be beneficial for organizations.
We're excited too, and I'm the lucky one. I get to share a little bit about Ernest. So Ernest is the creator of the CHORD Framework, which we just mentioned, a multidisciplinary approach to human-centered change management that empowers organizations to lead with empathy, clarity, and strategy. As principal at Chapel Wolfe, he helps companies drive sustainable change adoption by focusing on the people most impacted. With a background in IT enablement, enterprise learning, and consulting, Ernest transforms complex transformations into practical, people-first strategies that deliver lasting impact. Pretty impressive.
You guys make me sound so good.
That's all you, Ernest.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. What you have quite the background. So tell us a little bit about what led you here and a little bit about yourself personally.
Oh, wow. So, I'll start personally, and then I'll kind of jump into how I got to CHORD. So I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, born and raised. So you may hear that Baltimore accent slip out ever so often. That's just my home turf. I have been in the IT enablement, learning and development, change management space now for well over 20 years. And how I got to this point was in that time, the one thing that I noticed that was a consistent problem amongst all places that I worked was that there was misalignment between the people who were making the change, which I was one of them, right? And the people who actually had to absorb those changes, right? So that could be the employee or a stakeholder or even a customer, right? And I noticed that this was causing a lot of rework and failure and things like that. And as I continued to go, I found a very popular study by McKinsey that says that over 70% of all change initiatives fail. And I thought that was a staggering number. And if you guys are sports fans, I know it's during that time now, but the only way you can be 3 for 10 in anything is baseball and still be good, right? And that doesn't really work in business, unfortunately. And I said, it is time that something changes, right? And I created CHORD because I believe that change management was focused, it was created to manage the change, right? I mean, it's literally in the name. But I think the part that is missing is understanding the alignment, right? And understanding the need for alignment, because that's one of the most important things that you can have in any change initiative. So I created a CHORD framework. CHORD stands for Change Harmony for Organizational Readiness and Development. It has 4 stages. And what I'm doing is I'm not necessarily creating anything from scratch per se, but what I'm doing is that I'm taking 8 proven disciplines that have all shown to provide some incredible I'm getting lost here. Some incredible contributions to change management, and I have applied those 8 disciplines into and weave them into the 4 stages, right?
Okay.
So that's a little bit about me and kind of how I got here.
Okay, yeah, interesting. And then, so CHORD is an acronym, correct? So
It
take
is.
us through that acronym.
So CHORD stands for Change Harmony for Organizational Readiness and Development. So the reason why I say change harmony is, again, to go back to the point of things being misaligned, right? I can't tell you how many times I have been a part of a change initiative where the people who have to actually do the change didn't know the change was coming. They would, there has been things as egregious actually as them working in the system on a Friday, and then they come in on a Monday and something has changed, and they now have to stop what they're doing or what they was about to do to now figure out this change that's buried somewhere in their email, right? Or they are being asked to take an hour away from their time, which is okay, if you are, let's say, HR, right? But if you're in sales, not so much, right? Where your job is dependent on how many conversions you're able to get, how many sales you're able to get, right? So that kind of leads into organizational readiness. Organizational readiness is ensuring that this is the right time for the change to even happen, right? Mm-hmm. So I can't tell you how many times, to go back to the sales piece, where a change would happen in the middle of a blitz for the sales team, where they're trying to, they're getting towards the end of the quarter and they want to ramp things up. And now, not only are they now, blitzing and they're trying to get sales, they're trying to win some prize and all that stuff, but now they got to worry about a systems change on top of that. So that's where the organizational readiness come in. And then the development part is just kind of ties everything in, because I believe that change is an engine for competitive advantage, right? And I mean, you think about it with any company, you think about it with any sports teams, everyone changes, and they don't, you can't stay the same or else you're going to fall behind, right? So I think that, all of that, when you put it together, is how I came up with the idea of CHORD. In addition to the fact that I have a musical background, so CHORD, of course, is is a play on words, because it is the connection of multiple musical keys, right? So to me, that represents harmony, that represents togetherness, and it ensures that companies work together. So often, companies operate in silos, and that is, I don't even know how to begin to say how that is a silent killer for any company, right? Think about it. If a band all played their own music and did their own thing, how would the song sound, right? Or if a football team, the left tackle was going this way, the running back is going backwards, the receiver is going forward, how successful will they be, right? Companies, unfortunately, are operating like this. And I can't tell you how persistent it was just in my experience in, working in companies and seeing how they were doing things. And again, all of this is leading to $2 trillion that are being wasted annually, right? I don't know about you, but I don't have $2 trillion. I probably wouldn't be talking right now if I did, but I mean, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that's being wasted, right? So it's time. It's time that we address this. It's time that we really get to the root of why these changes are failing and figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, I think you're hitting on some really big and important pieces here, Ernest. I've seen this same thing that you're talking about with departments and teams working in silos, and one department adopts a new process, or maybe they bring on a new vendor and another department already has a vendor that does that same thing. And there's just these disconjointed processes, but really being able to implement a change that can create, as you said, that harmony between teams and between departments can accelerate growth. And it's a huge piece to business and unlocking greater performance. When it comes to people leaders and HR leaders, maybe one specific people leader in a department or an HR manager, they're not the instigator of making that change or deciding that a change is needed, but they're a critical piece because they're involved in helping roll that change out. Like, to your point, you get there Monday morning and the systems have changed and you're saying, well, what is this? I need to do my job and I'm getting stopped from doing my job because I don't know how this new process works or why it's there. And then they're going to their manager or their HR leader saying, well, why is this here? Why are we doing this? And if they don't have the answer, then that really can crumble the employee experience and can lead to turnover. It can lead to loss of productivity and it can lead to frustrations. And having that system for change management in place, I think, is critically important. And I honestly love the CHORD acronym, starting with change, harmony, organizational readiness. I think that's amazing.
I love the music tie-in. I have a music background as well, and I was curious what your music background is.
So for me, I was a college marching band participant. So I actually performed in 2 NFL halftime shows, and marched all around the United States. If I may give a shout out to the magnificent marching machine M3 at Morgan State University. But yeah, that's my background. I love music.
You do.
I play the tuba. Look at me. I'm a big guy.
I mean, I could have guessed it, but I just wanted to.
Hey, that's fantastic.
I just played the flute. It wasn't the flute. It wouldn't go well with me. My body size. It just wouldn't work.
Yeah, you got to have the wind capacity.
Exactly.
Oh, man,
exactly.
That's great.
But I love that tie-in and to the harmony. It all makes perfect sense to be working in harmony with your team members, but then with the company as a whole. It's so important, and I think that analogy makes it pretty clear. So I'm curious, have you had some specific experiences that either led you to this or that you've seen now that you've established this framework that makes it just so obvious this way?
So I actually have been doing this before I wrote the framework. So I did it, and if I have a white paper, so please go to chordframework.com and read the white paper. But in that white paper, I talk about an example where I was brought on to provide Microsoft certification training for veterans that have just came out of the military. And the problem was that no one was getting certified, right? And when I say no one, I mean 0% pass rate. So one of the first things that I did was I first talked to the people that, of course, brought me in and to kind of figure out where the problem was. Looked into why or what resources they currently have, they being the students, right? Had a chance to talk to students and understand, from the past classes, what was the experience like, right? I then was able to take that and, do some things, including working with the actual working with the actual certification body to get like assessment tests and things like that that could help reinforce learning. And after implementing everything, I'm not going to go into the full implementation process, but after implementing everything, I was able to achieve an 85% passing rate. And I maintained that throughout the entire time that I was there, right?
Wow.
So that's just one example of CHORD working. And I've always had this, but I just didn't know, how to kind of tie it all into a framework, right? So as I begin to, continue through my career, I was able to learn more things, right? Understand things such as human-centered design and seeing exactly, well, wait, I did that, right? Understanding employee experience and making sure that people feel seen, people feel heard, people feel valued, right? And I was like, I did all of that, right? So and as I kept reading and kept finding more things, I said, wait, I think that there is something that I can do to, bring it to organizations to say, hey, there is something that you can do to ensure that your culture is cultivated. There's something that you can do to ensure that you're not wasting money, right? There's actual action that you can do. And it doesn't take anything that is, you gotta start all over from what you already know, but there are things that you can do and tweaks that you can make and other assessments that you can do and conversations that you can have to ensure that the adoption sticks. And here we are, and here I am talking to you guys about it.
Yeah, so take us a little more into that action and the 4 stages of your CHORD framework.
Absolutely. So the CHORD framework has 4 stages, as I mentioned. The 4 stages are ground, right? This is where we basically identify what's working, what's misaligned, and what the people are saying about the culture, what they are saying about change, right? So that kind of gives us the foundation, that gives us a map, if you will, of where everything is, who the stakeholders are, what they're feeling, what they're thinking, what they're saying, right? And then there is, in that we are working with them to say, hey, if we can show you a different way, right, would you be open to it? Right? Because we don't want to just say, okay, well, we heard you, we're still going to keep doing the same thing, right? So again, that's part of the grounding, right? And not just the change absorbers, but it's also the change makers. Hey guys, you're about to release a change. Let's make sure that the people are actually ready for the change. What major events are coming, and talking to them and making sure that everybody is on the same page, right? From there, we go to design, right? And with design, this is where we kind of define the behaviors, and we're making sure that they're realistic. We are defining the systems that reflect the desired culture, and we are ensuring that that this design isn't just a top-down approach. It isn't just coming from up high, but it's with the people who actually work in the systems every day. There is so much that you can learn from people that use a system every day, right? And one of the reasons why I say there's a misalignment is because I feel that people, especially when you get to a corporate level and we become a head or director, sometimes you can get a little bit too high, if you will, and not really come down and learn from the actual people that are using the system every day, because they can help you with things that you may not be thinking of, right? So that's why the design, that's what we do in design, right? From there, we kind of go to activate. And activate is when we think of activate, people normally think of training. Okay, this is where we do the training, right? Yes, but we do things a little beyond that, right? This is where we equip the leaders, the frontline managers, the managers, right? With training and coaching and with the employees with nudges, right? To encourage them to be prepared for the change. And even after the change, hey, here's a little 2-minute, snippet on this new update that the system is having, instead of having a whole another 1 hour training, right? Embedding, things into the workflow of the user, so they don't have to go outside of where they're working. They can get a message. They could click a button. They could take them through a quick walkthrough of an update, right? And this is where we use all of these tools to activate the mind, the skill set, and the behavior shifts, right? And we do that through reinforcement, right? Because I believe that awareness without activation is just theory. If I'm just training you and there's no follow-up outside of one survey, then, is the change really sticking? And, it's as simple as, hey, Mike, I'm using a person's name, Mike, in this example, but hey, Mike, what do you think about the new update? Like, how's it been? Like, I see that, in your usage, you've been really using it. Oh yeah, this has been great, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Hey, Mike, how about you tell that to the team? We're going to make you a champion. Little things like that, right? To encourage people to continue to use the change, right? And then finally, we anchor or we sustain the change, right? And the reason that I use anchor and sustain interchangeably, because I believe that it's important to embed the culture into the systems, into the leadership behaviors, into the feedback loops, right? And what this does is that this makes the invisible visible, right? And what I mean by that, this makes the feelings, the thoughts, the certainties or uncertainties known, so we could then improve, right? And begin a feedback loop cycle, right? So those are the 4 stages. I hope I was able to explain that clearly. But yeah, I truly believe that these 4 stages, they again don't require you to be a neuroscientist, or it doesn't require you to be a behavioral scientist. It just requires you to want to see your company win, want to see the team win, and want to see greater profits.
Some of the best models and frameworks are ones that just make sense, right? They're not overly complex or complicated, but they make sense and they help guide the actions that you take as an organization.
Yeah, I love that. And honestly, I think the grounding principle really stands out to me to first challenge like how things are going to begin with a certain process or system, and then questioning first if the timing is right, if it's needed, like asking all those preliminary questions. Very powerful. I think this is an amazing approach. And, I was so excited to have you here, especially with your framework. Like at Mobram, our company, one of our company values is harmony. Play your part, win as a team, and have fun along the way, which shows, as everyone plays their part and does their job collectively, you can achieve a win together.
Exactly. The one thing that I love about you guys' podcast is you ask the simple question, and it's consistent across every episode, right? How do we engineer culture, right, to drive profit, right?
Yeah.
And the one thing that I would say with CHORD and culture is that the people, culture is like the blood flow of an organization, right? You can't have a company and without that critical piece, right? I think that a lot of companies want to be client first, right? And I think that in order to be client first, you have to be employee first, because they are your most important asset, right? You can have the greatest product, you can have the greatest service, but if you don't have the employees, you only can go but so far, right? So I think that, with CHORD and with people, in podcasts like you guys, that there is a change that's coming that's saying, hey guys, we need to ensure that we really look to invest into our people outside of snacks and chips and things like that, right? We need to make sure that we're investing into their, not just their well-being, but into who they are as an employee in this company. Make sure we're giving them the best tools, the best processes, and ensure that we can all win. So thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, as you said earlier, $2 trillion goes into and is wasted throughout these processes. And we have turnover, we have people that are quiet quitting, and so many issues that way. So this is important.
Yep, 100%. Thank you, Ernest. And we're excited to share your resources on the highlight article. And thanks everyone for tuning in, and make sure to leave a review. We're glad that you're part of the community here. So thanks.
Thank you guys. You guys have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Culture Profit podcast and for being a part of our journey to prove that putting people first is best for business.
Today's episode was sponsored by Mobrium.
Want to get more employee reviews and streamline your employer reputation? Visit mobrium.com.
Now go find one way to prioritize your people and watch your profits grow.